Well, unfortunately, going into the last day of the two Bundesliga season where we do take on the champions in Fortuna Dusseldorf, we cannot get promoted up to the Bundesliga for next season, but still a top half finish guaranteed, a good season for the pre-season relegation favourites. Hopefully we can end things with a bang and see how big a transfer budget we get to work with going into our second season in the second tier. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 39 of the Leipzig Loko with Lokomotive Leipzig here on Sean Does FM. I hope you are doing well and come up day we finish our fourth season of the save and our first one in the two Bundesliga, and we take on the team who will go up to the Bundesliga next season as champions in Fortuna Dusseldorf. Also end of season review and transfer budget for next season as well, so if you're looking forward to that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday we took on the two teams who at that stage were inside of the top three and behind the champions in Fortuna Dusseldorf, needing at least a win from one of those two games to keep ourselves with a chance of going up. If you missed the episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Unfortunately, a loss and a draw did mean we really needed a lot of favours to keep ourselves in the promotion hunt, and as you can see, we technically could have been in the hunt, apart from the fact our goal differential is absolutely terrible going into this final day of the season, so unfortunately, no real chance for us there to overtake Jan Regensburg, so it does mean we will spend another season in the two Bundesliga, albeit we have actually found some form in these last couple of games of the season off the back of that draw in that second game yesterday against Jan Regensburg. Picked up a 1-0 win at home against Ingolstadt, albeit those guys are a team who potentially could get relegated. That was thanks to a Michael Wusu second half goal from a free kick. And then away from home, we took on Bochum, another team who are down in that relegation zone, and bet them 2-0 again, second half goals, this time through Osman Tilgan and also our lonely striker in Massimo Manganelli. So we have picked up some form going in to these last games of the season. One of the reasons for that might be in terms of our tactic. We did go back to what we were using when we did find some form right back early on at the start of the season, once we did ditch the 4-3-3 and switch to the 4-2-3-1. I've just gone back to those exact roles and instructions that we were using, and we have picked up 2 wins in the games that we have played off the back of yesterday's episodes. So probably should have just stuck with that in hindsight, but did feel like for a little bit there we were just losing our form again. May have just played around with the tactic a little bit too much, especially for a team who were expected to be going straight back down to the Free Liga, but at the very least we are guaranteed a top half finish for this first season in the two Bundesliga, no matter what happens on this final match day, even with a few players missing through suspensions and whatnot. And we are going to take on the team who will go up to the Bundesliga next season as champions in Fortuna Dusseldorf. Earlier in the season, we took these guys on and picked up a 0-0 draw in the last game before we did head in to the winter break. And with this one being at home on our best form, which we might be starting to refine a little bit too late this season, we might be in with a sneaky chance here of picking up a win. But as you can see, Fortuna Dusseldorf, their recent form not that great, truth be told, but they still haven't lost in their last 5, just 1 win in amongst those games, though they will have nothing to play for on this final day of the season. We'll see if we can get the job done over a team who next season will be a part of the top tier in German football. They might even go up as champions with only 62 points, which is a very low total, but does show just how competitive the two Bundesliga has been this season. Off the back of this game, we will get some interesting stuff like transfer budgets. Will we get a decent one, or at least a rise to the wage budget going into our second season in the second tier here in Germany? But it's time to play our last game of the season. Can we get one over the champions as we host Fortuna Dusseldorf? And here are the team sheets for this lone game of today's episode. We have been forced into one change yet again. Leon Heinke is out through a suspension, 2 more yellow cards today. We're going to try Ricardo Grimm instead of Mark Lamptey in that ball-winning midfielder role. They are the champions 5 at the back, 2 defensive midfielders, a very defensive setup, which is no doubt why they don't lose too many games, at least of late. But hopefully, with them having nothing to play for, we can pick up a win and end things on a high here in our first season in the 2 Bundesliga. And just shy of the 10-minute mark, the first highlight here was potentially they're going to be in our favour. Tried to play a ball over the top and Hoffman did snuff that one out for the champions away from home in the red. In Fortuna Dusseldorf again, we look to go over the top there. Manganelli kind of gets a shot off. It is a deflected one. Pandor with a very easy save. That apparently was a highlight, and it is 0-0 coming up to the 15-minute mark. And only a few minutes out from half-time, we eventually get a second highlight in this game. It is a free kick in our favour. So far, actually doing a pretty good job here against the champions. Hopefully, we can grab a lead just before half-time. Stankovic, though, very slow on the ball and a lot of space down that right-hand side. And Cogliata here gets a chance to get the champions on the front foot. Late in this first half so far, they have not had a single shot on target, and yet again, that left wing does prove quite good for them, finding some space. And they do start to get on the front foot there. Good chance for Kleindienst, and thankfully, Krapakas tips that one onto the post. We clear our lines, and that should mean that we do go into halftime still locked up at 0-0. One highlight in favour of both teams, albeit fair to say the highlight late for Fortuna Dusseldorf, a lot more threatening than that one that we had early in that half. But apart from that late highlight, actually pretty happy with how that first half went, especially against the team who next season will be up in the Bundesliga. So I don't think we need to make any changes just yet. Manganelli on a 6.4. We'll see if he can improve early doors in the second half, but no changes needed just yet, I feel like. And we'll get things back underway, still locked up at 0-0. And just hitting the hour mark, no highlights so far in the second half, and a few players out there down to red hearts and also some average ratings. So we're going to make some changes here. Cueto down to a red heart off the back of a knock. Julian Weigl can come on for him. Also Ziani for Manganelli just struggling, as is Stankovic at the back. Daniel Hindu can come on for him. Still locked up here at 0-0 with a half hour left. And just entering the last 20 minutes of this game, a little bit concerningly here, Fortuna Dusseldorf have started to find their way now on the front foot based on those stats. As you can see at the moment, absolutely no chance, even if it wasn't based on goal differential, that we could jump above Jan Regensburg, as those guys are currently winning their game. But just checking player fitness, Michael Wusu is down to a red heart. Danny Humer will come on for him. We'll also put those wingers onto attack and try and get something to happen late in this game. Still 0-0. And just entering the last 10 minutes of this game, still no highlights so far in the second half, and there are a few players out there now for us down to red hearts. We may as well go for the win in this one, as there's not much for us to worry about in this one in terms of losing won't affect us too much. So with that in mind, we will take off an attacker, bring on Anton Bulland for Osman Tilgan, and also, while we're here, we may as well go onto an attacking mindset as well and try and do something late in this game. Still 0-0 with only 10 minutes left. And we're just about to enter injury time in this one. I've been playing attacking for the last couple of minutes in this one, and thankfully we are going to get a highlight eventually in the second half with only a few minutes left here of injury time, and start to make some headway here down this left-hand side. Bulland plays that one back to Kachala, finds Grimm there and lots of space in the centre of the field, albeit Weigl there with a really poor pass, and Dusseldorf here will get a chance to do something down their left-hand side, albeit good slide tackle that from Ernesto, and now good chance for us to do something here on the counter-attack. Weigl back there to Anton Bulland. He comes at this from a tight angle, but puts that one over the goalkeeper. His first goal of the season comes in one of the final couple of minutes of it. That will avoid a nudie run for him here at Lokomotive Leipzig. Off the back of that, we'll just tone things down a little bit. We don't really need to, but still would be nice to pick up a win over the champions on this final day of the season. We'll slow things down just a little bit as well, and hopefully can end with 3 straight wins. It will be a case of just a little bit too late for us finding this form in our last couple of games. But Anton Bulland off of the bench, good finish there from a tight angle, and we do make it 1-0 with only a few minutes left. Hopefully no more highlights now in this game. It's been a pretty even one based on stats, and we will end the season having picked up 3 wins in our last 3 games, albeit the 2 of those we played before we came back. For today's episode, we're against teams who are in danger of being relegated, but still that's a good end to the season for us if only we picked up one more win in one of those games in yesterday's episode, but still, that should mean we might finish the season a little bit further up the table than where we did start going into that final match day, and that's certainly a respectable effort by us in our first season in this division, and hopefully gives us something to launch from for our second season, which we'll come back for next week in the 2 Bundesliga, but that is a good way to end things there, a 1-0 win over Fortuna Dusseldorf. Interesting question there, our silent scoring goals, why are they strangers? We've scored 4 goals in our last 3 games, not too bad, but as you can see, we do end the season in 5th place. Bochum and Magdeburg are going straight down, Fortuna Dusseldorf and Jan Regensburg go straight up, Nuremberg and Ingolstadt have to face playoffs, but we finish the season with a 1-0 win at home over the champions. And now it's time for us to get into the admin stuff off the back of the end of our first season in the 2 Bundesliga, our 4th one in the save. Not too worried about what happened in that game, but have just noticed right up the top there, a big game changer potentially for us here in terms of our prize money. In the 2 Bundesliga, we pick up £12 million or just over that for finishing 5th, and what that does for the finances is give them a very nice boost. Might even ask the board now to try and do some stuff in terms of our facilities to try and improve that aspect of things here at the club now that we have got a little bit of money. Also, that hopefully might just help us in terms of the transfer budget that we will get going into next season, but a nice little payout there off the back of a 5th place finish in our first season in the 2 Bundesliga. And only a few clicks off the back of getting that payout for finishing 5th in our first season in the 2 Bundesliga, the next day we do get our budget for next season here at Lokomotive Leipzig off the back of that payment. It is a very good one, the best one we've had so far here at the club, a transfer budget of just under £2 million. Not too sure if we'll actually use that to sign any players for a fee. I think we might still be able to get the job done with players that we do sign on a free transfer, but still the wage budget is going to go up to £75,000 a week. Having a look at the finances at the moment, we are currently spending around about $56,000. If we can move some of that over as well from the transfer budget, that should go up even more. So hopefully that will give us a fair bit of room to make some good signings and improve the squad quality for next season here at Lokomotive Leipzig. But some more good news in terms of the finances, a decent transfer and wage budget for next season. And as we steadily make our way towards the end of season review as well as the playoffs for those teams who could go up or down from the 2 Bundesliga, we do have our club vision and objectives for next season, truth be told, very, very similar to what we had this year here at Lokomotive Leipzig. Possession football, make the most of set pieces, high tempo pressing and defensively solid. Work within the wage budget, that should be no problem with the boost of that, and also yet again just attempt to avoid relegation from the 2 Bundesliga. Hopefully that's something that we can do, especially with that increase to the wage budget for next season. We'll just accept that because usually can't really negotiate that anyway, even though it does say you can. In terms of end of season team meeting, I think we'll tell them we just want to try and avoid relegation for next season. So because of that, we will say that we're good enough not to be relegated next season. That will be our likely target. And thankfully, the boys are actually on board with that, and we can send them off for their holiday in a good mood, which is quite rare for Football Manager. Those are usually the meetings that can be absolutely stuffed up. And also, I think the guys are going to Upper Austria for their training camp. All the money's coming, and all of a sudden we want to go overseas, albeit to be fair, most of those options also in Austria. I think we'd rather go up than low, so we'll go for Upper Austria for our training camp, but those are the objectives for next season, pretty much the same as they were this season at Lokomotive Leipzig. Just try and stay in the 2 Bundesliga. And potentially one last stop before we do get to the end of season review for our first season in the 2 Bundesliga here at Lokomotive Leipzig, obviously off the back of getting that nice payout for our finish in the 2 Bundesliga this season. We did start to ask the board to improve some facilities. Unfortunately, most of those requests have been rejected, apart from an improvement to the youth facilities. So hopefully that might help us in a year or so's time start to get some better youth intakes here at Lokomotive Leipzig. It's going to cost us £1.6 million, but that's not too much money off the back of a £12 million payoff. So hopefully, with that in mind, with a youth facility upgrade, we can start to get some better players coming through our youth intakes. And we've eventually made our way forward to the end of season review for the fourth season of this save. As I said, the first one that we did spend in the two Bundesliga, no trophies this time, but that wasn't really a goal for our first season in the second tier of German football. In terms of the new signings, all of them were made on a free transfer, but the signing of the season does go to Matteo Kacella, our deep-line playmaker, who we did sign on a free previously of Roma. His 7.06 average rating does mean he picks up that award, but to be fair, most of our new signings did do a decent job. Danny Lewell, a little bit disappointing. Hopefully he might develop a bit more next season, albeit it could be someone if we do sign a few strikers that we do send out on loan. Also our loanee striker, Massimo Manganelli, wasn't that great. 24 appearances, 6 goals, not too great for a striker, albeit most players here at the club this season did struggle for goals, but apart from that, the likes of Stankovic, Cueto, and Krapakas had pretty good first seasons here at Lokomotive Leipzig. Just one transfer out that is listed here, Kevin Zizek leaving on a free transfer. Also Mike Eagleseder, but he actually retired and became a coach. And lots of players loaned out from the clubs and players that we picked up from international teams who needed a club going into this new season that we did loan out. Hopefully some of those players can be of use to us next season or in 1 or 2 years' time. So that was the transfer business that we did do going into our first season in the two Bundesliga. Our first season in the league, we did a pretty good job, finishing in 5th, only 2 points behind the team who will be in a playoff in Nuremberg. That has still not wrapped up yet. So we'll have to come back off the back of this review and see who is going up and down into the two Bundesliga for next season, with those playoffs involving Nuremberg as well as Ingolstadt. But we got off to a rough start with that 4-3-3, got back on track nicely in September, once going to a 4-2-3-1, but did struggle to hold our form a little bit off the back of that. And then when we came back from the winter break, we were just looking to try and up our goal scoring, because we were one of the worst goal scoring teams in the league this season. Unfortunately, probably just tinkered with the tactic a little bit too much and did go on a bit of a poor patch of form there in late January going into March. Thankfully improved in that latter part of the second half of the season, especially those last 3 games, 3 wins and 3 clean sheets, but unfortunately just left it a little bit too late to try and make our way into a promotion playoff for this season. But hopefully with some confidence from those last few results, we could make our way into a proper promotion hunt for next season. Certainly a decent effort, as we were the best of the teams who did come up, despite being the clear favourites to go straight down to the Free League. In terms of the DFB Pokal this season, unfortunately got a pretty tough draw in that first round against Cologne from the Bundesliga, albeit did push them really hard, that one going to penalties, but unfortunately we did bow out to the Bundesliga outfit. And as you can see, Bayern Munich did pick up that trophy yet again with a 2-0 win over Schalke in the final. The moments to remember are up next. The biggest win was 3-1 away at Augsburg in April. We picked up 2 wins against those guys this season, which was a little bit surprising. A team who have some decent players, including Timo Horn in goal. The match to remember was in January, a 2-0 win over Eintracht Braunschweig, the team who were the champions from the Free League last season. And the goal of the season came in one of the games that we did play off camera coming into today's one. It was the free kick scored by Mike Owusu to give us a 1-0 win over Ingolstadt. Thankfully did score this one too, because it was a game that we were well on top of the opposition in, but thankfully Owusu did score that one. We had some of those go against us this season, but Owusu there did pick up that goal, which did give us all 3 points in that game and did just turn things around late for us, but unfortunately was just a case, as I said earlier, of too little too late. In terms of the club reputation, things are exactly the same for now, albeit that might get a little boost potentially going into next season. Everything has gone up, in particular competition prize money, quite significantly, except for broadcast revenue. In terms of the finances and the top shirt sellers this season, Tilgan, Krapakas, Owusu, Cueto and Jamal Ziani, who will actually still be here next season. He played 20 league games, so that means he has a 1-year extension in his contract. Also, Leon Heinke, we did end up signing for next season as well, so a few players who will still be here for next season, who earlier in the week we did think we might be letting go of going in to our second season in the 2 Bundesliga. There's our best 11 from this season. To be fair, most of it makes a lot of sense, apart from the fact maybe that Manganelli is up front over Ziani, but to be fair, none of our strikers did perform that well in that role up front for us this season. But to be fair, that is the team that we did put out for most of this season here at Lokomotive Leipzig. Only one player on a green rating 2 in Kachala, which is a bit disappointing. Probably means he's going to clean up in terms of the awards coming up, and indeed that is the case. He picks up the Fans Player of the Season and the Young Player of the Season, as well as Signing of the Season. As you did see earlier, top goal scorer Jamal Ziani with only 7. Most assists Osman Atilgan with 4. Also picked up most man of the matches with 7. And as you saw, highest average rating did go to Matteo Kachala. No competition awards just yet, but can't imagine our players will pick up too many of those, considering the lack of goals and goal scoring output. We did pick up last season the Free League Manager of the Year. That's still there for some reason. And record breakers, most man of the matches in the season are Tilgan, worst disciplined Heinke with those 13 yellow cards, and Ziani still has the records for most league appearances and for most league goals. Going forward, there is the wrap-up of the season from the media and game and dynamic manager timeline. We'll just go forward and see if this has been added to in any significant way at all. And the answer to that is a resounding no, because the last update was back in July, coming into the start of the season. So that will do it for the end of season review. A pretty good season, truth be told, finishing 5th when we were predicted to finish rock bottom in 18th. In terms of our overall best 11 for the save so far, not too many changes in this one, just the fact that Titus Krapakas now makes his way onto the bench as our goalkeeper. But apart from that, it does look like the same starting 11 we did have for this best 11 at the end of last season. And also in terms of the DFB Pokal, there is a quick roundup of that competition. As I said earlier, Bayern Munich did pick up that trophy. Yet again, we'll come back shortly and see though who will be going up and down into the 2 Bundesliga for next season once the playoffs wrap up. And we've gone for a little bit off the back of that end of season review, and finally the playoffs have been completed. So we're going to make our way through these and also show you guys the league results for the top 3 divisions here in Germany. First off, the Bundesliga, 2 Bundesliga playoff. Nuremberg will make their way up to the Bundesliga for next season. They defeated Sandhausen, so those guys are a team we'll be taking on next season, coming down from the Bundesliga alongside Hamburg and Hanover. As you can see, Bayern Munich yet again are the champions. RB Leipzig, slight drop off there for our city rivals. They could only finish in 5th, so we'll drop down into the Europa League next season after being the Champions League for the last couple of seasons. Our affiliate Eintracht Frankfurt do get Champions League football, going down now to the 2 Bundesliga and having a look at the playoff between Ingolstadt and the third best team from the Free League in Heidenheim. And Heidenheim are coming up to the 2 Bundesliga. Of course, in real life, they will be in the Bundesliga next season, but they pick up a narrow 5-4 win there over Ingolstadt. So Ingolstadt are getting relegated. And of course, you would have seen earlier the teams who are going up and down, Fortuna Dusseldorf and Jan Regensburg going up alongside Nuremberg, and alongside Ingolstadt, it is Bochum and Magdeburg. And that means that down in the Free Liga, that the teams coming up alongside Heidenheim for next season are Dynamo Dresden and Gruppe Fürth. Of course, they were in the 2 Bundesliga last season. We bet them in the first round of the DFB Pokal. So a few familiar faces there coming up from the Free Liga who we can hopefully beat next season, so we make sure we do not end up in a relegation battle. But I think that will do it for this last episode of the 4th season of this save. Unfortunately, left a good run of form late in the season, just a little bit too late, and only end up finishing 5th, albeit get a decent payout for that, and now a decent amount of money that we do have to work with in a transfer special, which we will come back for in tomorrow's episode. If you did enjoy this season here of the Leipzig Loko, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. As I said, we'll come back tomorrow and hopefully have a quite busy transfer window with that money that we did get for finishing 5th in the 2 Bundesliga, and maybe can make a play at getting promoted up to the big time, the Bundesliga, in our 5th season of this save. Until tomorrow for that transfer special, thank you very much for watching, Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.
Thought I could do this life through the sadness. Don't know how I ended up so lost. Sink through the deep end, hurt